Coming up on market shares, the January jobs report was released earlier this week. How Wall Street is reacting.
And the Senate fails to pass a funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security. What this pause in money means.
And Apple stock has the worst day since April. How the company is responding. Hold on to your wallets because market share starts right now. Good afternoon and welcome into Market Shares. I'm Riley Underwood.
And I'm Teaghan Brostrom. Let's get right into our market update. Red across the board.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
Red, celebrating for Valentine's Day.
Investors not celebrating so much as those who are celebrating for Valentine's Day because yesterday everything seemed to drop. Thursday was not a good day for the stock market, and it's all because of the tech sector. We're going to talk about Apple in just a moment. That was a big reason why, because the tech has been propping up everything. The AI and tech, that's why they've been green in our past shows. Right now, red because of the tech. So live by it, die by it. Right now, it's in the red.
Exactly, and I think a lot of these companies are just really unsure of how the tech is going to impact, money and stock in the future. So it'll definitely be interesting to watch moving forward.
All right, so let's get into our first market mover, and that's one of my favorite places to go to. This is McDonald's. McDonald's is in the green. They're up just under 0.75%. Up 2 points, and McDonald's, if you look at their charts over 5 days, over months, over 5 years, they're green all the way. McDonald's just keeps going up, and it's a big reason why is because of all these promotions they have going on. The Grinch meal, they were the largest distributor of socks. McDonald's was in the time that they were selling the Grinch meal, all these promotions, and actually the return of the value meal somewhat, still not as good of a value as it used to be with your dollar menu and everything like that. But they have noticed that consumers don't like the increase in prices. They've reintroduced somewhat of a value meal, and it's worked. Lots of promotions we talked about, like the Grinch meal, and it's going to keep going up because this Tuesday, Shamrock Shake gets introduced. I know that's everyone's favorite. Later this year, McDonald's will roll out some new beverages, including energy drinks, fruity refreshers, and crafted soda, so it seems like they're always innovating.
They've also started adding some caviar onto their McNuggets. I
saw that.
I don't know how I really feel about it. McCaviar, exactly. Seems to be pretty popular though. But moving from McDonald's to social media, Pinterest with the ticker PINS is down a lot today, down around 18% just today. And the company is saying that this is because of tariffs. And Pinterest isn't necessarily buying or selling anything, but their customers are, which their main customers is mainly advertisers. So those advertisers are being hit with those tariffs, and it's then impacting Pinterest's bottom line. Their fourth quarter earnings also came in this week, and at 1.32 billion in earnings, but it's a lot more below analysts' expectations. But analysts are saying that user growth is still pretty high on Pinterest. Like, a lot of people are using it, creating those boards, some mood boards, 2026 vision on Pinterest, but it's not helping them in their stocks.
That's again, to be honest, I didn't even know people still used Pinterest. But
I use Pinterest.
You use Pinterest?
I do.
You're not using it enough.
No,
they're down a lot.
Exactly.
Let's get into our final mover, another stock in the red. We talked about it at the top of the show. That's Apple. Yesterday, Apple had its worst day since April. Stock dropped 5% yesterday, wiping out its entire gain for the year. It's dropped even more than 7% now. A big reason why the FTC is investigating Apple for bias against some conservative outlets on Apple News. So the FTC is looking into that. Investors, some of them are kind of getting out while maybe they think that this is going to progress even further. So yesterday was not a good day for them.
Exactly, and Siri has also had some delays on Apple as well. There's been a lot of they've suggested new things with Siri, but there have been delays with that. So I think that's also contributing to their lower stock as well.
Well, it seems like they always have all these new updates coming out with the iOS and everything, but this one was scheduled for Siri to kind of get a revamp, but yeah, it's been delayed, and apparently people pay attention to these things because their stock has dropped. Investors are not liking Apple at the moment. Well, job growth was stronger than expected to kick off 2026. Non-farm payrolls increased by 130,000, above the Dow Jones estimate of 55,000.
Unemployment edged lower to 4.3%, below the 4.4 forecast from the month before. The report was delayed nearly a week following the partial government shutdown.
President Donald Trump used the numbers as a sign of a strong economy, calling again on the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates. In a post on Truth Social, Trump stated, "We are again the strongest country in the world and should therefore be paying the lowest interest rates by far."
And the healthcare sector led job gains, adding over 80,000 positions. Social assistance also rose, adding over 40,000 jobs. Some categories that posted losses included federal government and financial activity jobs.
The cost of goods and services rose at a slower annual rate than expected in January. This provides some hope that the nagging inflation could start easing.
And the Consumer Price Index rose 2.4% from the same time a year ago. That's down 0.3% from the month prior. This pulled inflation rate back down to where it was in the month after President Trump announced aggressive tariffs back in April.
Excluding food and energy, the core CPI was up 2.5%. On a monthly basis, these all items index was up 0.2%. The forecast was 0.3%. Food prices had a slight increase while energy and used car prices fell.
And winter storms and cold weather aren't the only issue people are facing this winter. The price of home heating bills is also soaring. Heating prices are expected to be around 9% higher for consumers than they were a year ago. And households are expected to have bills of $1,000 this winter. This cost increases are mainly driven by surging prices for electricity and natural gas. Electricity costs are expected to rise around 12%, while natural gas is projected to be up around 8%. According to the Natural Energy Assistance Directors Association, this trend is expected to continue over the next few years. Sounds expensive.
Unless there is a last-minute breakthrough, another partial government shutdown is due to begin at midnight. This comes as the Senate failed to advance a measure to fund the Department of Homeland Security yesterday. In a 52-47 vote, all but one Democrat, Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, opposed moving forward with the bill. The motion needed 60 votes to succeed. Here's Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer on the bill.
Today's strong vote was a shot across the bow to Republicans. Democrats will not support a blank check for chaos.
Funding for DHS, which oversees immigration and customs enforcement, is set to end at 12 a.m. Saturday. ICE will continue to operate if this happens, since they received billions of dollars in funding last year.
And coming up on Market Shares, NBC wins big with Super Bowl ratings. What the numbers looked like when we return.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Fancy pants peanut butter? A big screen television? You haven't even bought a sofa yet. A motorcycle? When your father finds out, he's gonna flip his shoes with 2 buckles? What do you even need 2 buckles for? Mr. Big Shot, buying whiskey shots for everybody in the bar. From the looks of it, I'd say nobody even remembers. Feed the pig.
Now, Kraft Mac and Cheese and Heinz Ketchup are sticking together for a little bit longer. The food giant that owns Kraft, Heinz, Oscar Mayer, and Philadelphia Cream Cheese said last year it was splitting its brand in two. The company's sales had slumped for years, and the breakup would have separated its condiment line from struggling brands like Kraft Singles and Lunchables. Since announcing the split, the brand's sales have only gotten worse. Kraft Heinz CEO announced a turnaround plan instead. He says the company will invest $600 million on marketing, sales, and research development to improve business. They announce the decision. The spinoff after that goes through.
Sounds delicious, and prediction markets are also heading into basketball season on a high from the Super Bowl. Kalshi saw record downloads during Super Bowl week, up 1,500% from the same time last year. Daily active users jumped more than 1,000% to nearly 2 million on the day of the game. That was almost 3 times the users on sportsbook BetMGM. More than $1 billion were traded for the Super Bowl, up a whopping 2,700%. This is only the start as major sporting events continue with the Winter Olympics and the NBA All-Star Weekend. And it wasn't just a win for the Seahawks this past weekend, it was a win for the network as well. Super Bowl 60 is officially in the record books as one of the most watched television events ever. Our analysts Vanessa Shimoni and Mia Carr are here to break down the massive numbers and cultural impact on the country.
Thanks, Riley. And it's no joke how many viewers turned out for the big game this year. Super Bowl 60 has officially entered the record books as NBC's most watched program. With nearly 125 million viewers, the numbers have doubled in the past 6 years. However, this was not the only record broken in terms of viewership. Bad Bunny's halftime show performance set off a staggering 4 billion views on social media within the first 24 hours of the game. The catch, 55% of the social engagement came from international markets, highlighting the singer's global presence. Well, despite inflation forcing every dollar to stretch a little thinner, consumer spending for the Super Bowl has hit an all-time high with total revenue from customers spending for the game amounting to $20 million. Consumer revenue has increased by $5 million in just the past 5 years. Well, speaking of gambling, Nevada sportsbooks are at their lowest point since 2016, with platforms like DraftKings and FanDuel that bring sports betting to your fingertips. Mobile gambling is very strongly dominating the industry, and Mia experts are saying that gambling is really taking off right now, and it wasn't a big deal during the Super Bowl because they believe that majority of the people watching thought it was a boring game. But, you know, with how platforms like FanDuel and DraftKings are making it so easy for gambling to be a mobile thing, people just don't feel like going to do the in-person thing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting to see how now, you know, gambling used to just be something that was at the casino, but now with these apps, it's right in your pocket. So it really makes it so for the Super Bowl, you don't just have to go to the game to, you know, interact with it. You can just engage with it while just sitting at home and watching it.
Absolutely. Now, for sure, and especially too, just to touch back on that, you know, customer spending, we saw that the average American is spending $30 more on Super Bowl materials than they did in previous years, so it's turning into a, you know, a bigger thing. But and with total revenue from customer spending over, you know, 20 million, it's been a lot. And we can even see here in this gambling graphic how the line between where people are going in person to gamble and using the mobile platforms is just, it's a massive gap, and it's a gap that's really only getting bigger. But, you know, we can't talk about the Super Bowl and not talk about commercials, and especially with how much the value of ads has skyrocketed. You know, Mia, tell us, what do you have to say about these Super Bowl commercials?
Well, I mean, with these commercials, AI completely dominated. If you look at it, wasn't just about AI being marketed to the consumer, it was about AI being marketed like with the product. You know, companies like Dunkin' Donuts and Svedka, they were all using AI to help like with their commercials in the brand. I know we saw specifically with Svedka, it was made entirely with AI, with these robots that were wearing lipstick and dancing in their heels, which that one did not get the best feedback from consumers. A lot of people were taking to Twitter to complain, saying it felt eerie and uncomfortable. But even still, the Dunkin' Donuts one was pretty popular. So it's interesting to see, you know, what AI is doing here and what its role is with the industry.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think that, you know, it's great for these companies because they're saving money by using these AI commercials, but at the same time, the Super Bowl with commercials and tickets and everything, it brings in a ton of revenue. And if companies start diverting to using AI for their commercials, will this eventually hurt the economy? Because it's not going to be bringing in the billions of dollars it now does. Like, Super Bowl ads are now up to $10 million, which is for a 30-second slot.
Yeah, and AI is really beneficial for them because it lowers the cost of creating these commercials, but also at the same time, if consumers aren't reacting the strongest to them, it makes you wonder if it's really worth the cost. I mean, Budweiser didn't use any AI and was super popular, but AI also isn't the first company to be heavily featured in the Super Bowl and be like this economic hot topic. Crypto also had this huge boom previously, and they were all over Super Bowl ads years prior. There was even a few of them mentioned earlier. I think there was one or two in the Super Bowl actually, but kind of similar to AI, it's kind of lulled down now. It's kind of reached more of a steady thing, which is really what AI is doing this year now. I mean, if we look at the stocks of these big companies, they've kind of reached this steady rate. But with that being said, it really makes you wonder, like, what do you guys think AI is going to look like in the future, and how is it going to be in the Super Bowl? Do you think that they're going to keep up with using AI, or do you think that they're going to go back to more traditional methods?
I mean, I don't even know where to start with this, because you surprised me when you guys said that the Svedka commercial was made completely with AI. And maybe it was a hot take. I guess I wasn't on Twitter like you guys were saying. That was one of my favorite commercials. So the fact that that was made entirely with artificial intelligence, it's kind of scary because I really liked it. And also, I couldn't tell. I mean, a few years ago, it seems like when you looked at AI videos, you're like, oh, this is kind of funny. But, you can tell this is fake. Now, I mean, they're using it to put millions of dollars, they're putting millions of dollars to air this AI commercial, and this is their marketing department. It's gone. They're using AI now, so it's just crazy how that happens.
I think a big thing in it too is that you're seeing these, like you were saying, Dunkin' and Svedka, their beverage and their food companies that are really doing well with using AI in the commercials, but this is something that you could never see in beauty products. You couldn't see this in beauty commercials. You couldn't see this in perfume commercials or fashion commercials, not yet. But at the same time, those are commercials that are so humanly oriented almost that it would just, I don't think that people would necessarily agree with that, And even I remember this time last year, Vogue had put an ad out there that was pretty much entirely AI generated, and it got a lot of backlash from people. So I think it really just depends on the industry of where these AI commercials are choosing to go.
And I think also something that's taken off sports betting. I mean, you talked about it. You can do it on your phone, watching the game from the couch. And honestly, it just seems like it's getting a little bit ridiculous with all the Kalshi things because, Super Bowl, it's fun. You can bet on what color the Gatorade's going to be. But now with Kalshi, you can bet on pretty much anything that happens. So, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, it's really interesting with these sports gambling apps because they make it so easy. I know a bunch of them offer, if it's your first time signing up, they'll give you like $200 to spend. So you don't even have to spend your own money at first, but then you get into it and you keep going, and then that's how they get you. But it's just so interesting to see gambling go from, the casino to just right in your pocket. You can pull it out any time. And, when you're watching the game, if you're really invested, if you know stuff about sports, it's so easy to just click a button and boom, now you're involved in this.
And there's a lot of rules around it too. I'm not completely familiar with all the specifics, but back in California, there's a lot of rules around, who's allowed to sports bet and, all the specifics within sports betting. So I think it has a pretty large community, a pretty large following, but all of the kind of regulations around it are really interesting too.
Vanessa and Mia, thank you so much for joining us. Well, coming up on Market Shares, tech giants begin a landmark trial over social media addiction claims. Betting, another addicting thing. How it's been unfolding after the break.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, but with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back to Market Shares. Shares of Roku jumped more than 6% after the streaming company posted better than expected fourth quarter results. Roku's earnings per share were 53 cents compared to 28 cents. Expected, their revenue was around $1.4 billion, beating the $1.3 billion expected. Roku executives said that the fourth quarter was the biggest quarter ever for additions to its premium subscriptions. It also said it expects to roll out subscription bundles this year.
Cisco Systems shares closed 12% lower yesterday as memory prices rise. It is the stock's worst day since 2022. Strong demand for artificial intelligence chips from NVIDIA has caused a global shortage of memory, sending prices skyrocketing. This has created uncertainty for a number of tech companies, including Apple and Dell, and chip makers like Qualcomm. Cisco reported better than expected quarterly results, but shares dropped around 7% as the company issued a mediocre forecast.
Rivian Automotive revs up its results. The company beats Wall Street's fourth quarter expectations and said it's targeting a significant increase in vehicle deliveries this year as well. Rivian's 2026 guidelines include increasing vehicle deliveries to between 62 and 67,000 units, which would be up by around 50% compared with that last year. That increase is assisted by the launch of their R2 SUV during the second quarter. Shares of Rivian were up more than 20% during pre-market trading today after closing at $14, down roughly 5%. The automaker's full-year revenue was up 8%, and the company was able to achieve its first annual gross profit.
Instacart stock surged more than 14% after the company's results eased worries over grocery competitors. Instacart faces an increasingly competitive market as retailers like Amazon, Uber, and DoorDash scale in grocery delivery. The company is investing in new technology and artificial intelligence tools to drive more customers to its platform. CEO Chris Rogers called the concerns overblown and said the company monitors threats extremely closely. Wall Street viewed Instacart's results as a wave of confidence. The company expects between $280 and $290 million in adjusted earnings versus the $277 million that was expected. And a landmark trial just started in Los Angeles this week where lawyers are arguing that the algorithms that power Meta and YouTube were purposely harmful to their users. Market Shares analyst Drew Matiasik joins us in studio to bring us through what this case means for the future of these platforms. Drew.
Thanks, Riley. That's right. After years of debate about how ethical or even legal these algorithms are, the courts are finally going to be able to make a decision. In Los Angeles this week, the plaintiff, who just goes by Kaylee, is accusing both Meta and YouTube platforms for creating addictive platforms and purposefully harming users' mental health. Kaylee was also accompanied by her mother in the court and specifically stated to the jury that these platforms caused her to develop anxiety, body dysmorphia, and suicidal thoughts. The lawyers for Meta and YouTube are indicating that they will argue difficult home life and not the platform's algorithms. Parents and online safety advocates have been fighting for a case like this for years and are saying, according to CNN, that this is a crucial moment of accountability. Now, when speaking before the jury on Monday, the plaintiff's lawyer, Mark Lanier, called the algorithms of these platforms comparable to digital casinos and says the endless scrolling feature leads to increased dopamine levels, which can lead to addiction. In his opening statement, Lanier says this case is about two of the richest corporations who have engineered addiction in children's brains and once again compared the swiping of the algorithm to the pulling of a lever on a casino slot machine. The plaintiff also sued Snapchat and TikTok, and that case was settled outside of court.
Drew, what will happen if the plaintiff wins in this case?
Well, nothing much than getting some money. These platforms obviously know that their algorithm is working, right? They've become addictive. They know that these algorithms are keeping users on their phones. The only thing that I could see coming out of this is this is just a civil suit. I could see something coming out about the legality, maybe something coming from the federal government when it comes to Meta and YouTube and all these other platforms. But just like what happened with TikTok and Snapchat, nothing much is going to change in terms of how these platforms are operating.
Now, Drew, what are the chances this case has enough grounds to be successful for the plaintiff?
It's very, very questionable. It's going to be very, very hard for the plaintiff to prove that these platforms, TikTok and Snapchat, where they settled out of court, but also YouTube and Meta, Instagram and Facebook Reels, are the sole cause of these mental health problems. They're going to have to go through a lot of different pieces of evidence that they're going to place before the jury. It could end up in the plaintiff's favor, but I don't really see any situation in which, if it wasn't settled outside of court, that the plaintiff could really win this case.
It seems like the plaintiff has kind of been going around the App Store tour, suing everyone she can find. So what apps could be next?
I don't really know what apps could be next, because this plaintiff is really only trying to attack these short content platforms. They're only trying to attack the Snapchat Reels that just came out. They're trying to attack the Facebook and the Instagram Reels that you're seeing, TikTok, where you're just scrolling. But this is also something that a lot of companies are expanding to. I think even LinkedIn has come up with their own Reels sort of thing. So really anything that has Reels on it, I think that's the algorithm that they're trying to target here, not the apps themselves.
And it seems like Reels are everywhere nowadays. And coming up on Market Shares, some not so sweet news, why chocolate prices are on the rise when we return.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way. My kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Welcome back to Market Shares. You're going to want to double check the name of the show and the prices if you're planning on buying chocolates for Valentine's Day. Chocolate prices are up over 14% year over year. The higher prices reflect a lingering effect of a global shortage in the primary ingredient, cocoa beans.
And that shortage, driven by poor harvests from extreme weather in West Africa, has sent cocoa prices skyrocketing. Its futures went from around $2,500 per metric ton to nearly $13,000. The good news is that cocoa prices have come back down to around $4,000. But the bad news is that chocolate items on the shelf this Valentine's Day are a lot more expensive.
I know we were going to try some, but not in the Market Shares budget since the prices have skyrocketed so much.
Exactly. But Riley, what's your favorite go-to Valentine's Day chocolate?
What are my choices? I mean, the Hershey's?
Or like Reese's peanut butter.
Oh,
like
you got to go with the
heart-shaped.
Reese's. There's nothing better.
And I feel like when they're in the fun shapes, they taste better.
Is that true?
I
sometimes
think so.
they say the ratio gets
hearts,
mixed up a little bit.
The Easter bunnies.
What's better?
I think the hearts.
Better than the Easter bunnies?
Yeah.
I think they all taste the same, but that's how they get you, that marketing. That's how they get you right
I know,
there.
and then it's even more expensive this year.
Well, that's all the time we have for you on this episode of Market Shares. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CitrusTV News and like us on Facebook. I'm Riley Underwood.
And I'm Teaghan Brostrom. Have a great night and a great Valentine's Day, Syracuse.